and I am starting with this chapter number 12, ISLM analysis. This chapter will include the derivation, slope, and position of IS and LM curve, equilibrium in both goods and money market. The remaining part of this chapter, that is ISLM and monetary and fiscal policy, will be discussed in the next class. I am coming back to this chapter. Well, students, there is an interesting chart, 12 number 1 in this chapter. Which show both money market and goods market together. In the previous chapter on Keynesian theory of income determination, we have studied how the equilibrium in the goods or product market takes place. And this happens at the point where aggregate demand is equal to aggregate supply or aggregate output. So there are two markets, money market and goods market. Well, students, the discussion that we had so far, we have assumed away the impact of money market on the equilibrium level of income. You remember, well, student, in chapter number 11 on Keynesian theory of income determination, we assume that investment is assumed to be constant or autonomous. But actually, investment depends on the rate of interest, and rate of interest further depends on numerous monetary factors. So that means whatever model that we have discussed so far, that was not complete. We have to integrate money market along with the product market instead of dealing the product market in isolation. In other words, I would like to tell you, in one of the previous chapters, we have studied the equilibrium in the money market, where we have studied that the equilibrium in the money market takes place at the point where demand for money is equal to the supply of money. And accordingly, we are able to get the equilibrium rate of interest. But in the previous chapter on Keynesian theory of income determination, we didn't take into account the money market. So this chapter integrates the money market with the product market. And here we are not dealing with one market in isolation. Now you can look at chart number 12.1, wherein on the left hand side we show the money market, that is also called as assets market, where equilibrium takes place at the point where demand and supply of money market are equal to each other. That means their curves intersect each other. On the right hand side we have goods market, where we arrive at the equilibrium point where aggregate demand comprising of consumption, investment, government expenditure and foreign exports equals the aggregate output or aggregate supply. From the money market we get the interest rate, and this interest rate is made use of in the goods market to change the investment demand or to change the autonomous demand. So that means when we integrate these two markets, product and money market, we will no longer assume that investment is autonomous. In the case of money market, we are using the monetary policy. In the case of goods market, we are using the fiscal policy. And whenever we integrate these two markets, we find a relationship between the interest rate and the income. That is the precise important point of discussion in this chapter. So whether it is IS curve, which implies investment saving curve. And why do we call it investment saving curve? Because in the goods market, aggregate demand is equal to aggregate supply, and hence saving is equal to investment. That is why the curve obtained by finding out various equilibrium points in the goods market is called as IS curve or investment saving curve. You will find equation number 12.1 just before you, where you get the expression for the equilibrium income, which is Y is equal to A bar divided by 1 minus C. And this is just repetition of what we discussed in the previous chapter under equation 11.25. And when we expand this equation to the 2-sector to 3-sector economy, then in the denominator, instead of having C, we get C within bracket 1 minus T. T implies the tax rate. Small c implies the marginal propensity to consume. A bar indicates autonomous spending. That includes government spending, investment spending, and autonomous consumption spending. We all know the relationship between investment and the interest rate, which was assumed to be constant in the previous chapter. It is no longer exogenous. It actually depends upon the rate of interest. And there is inverse relationship between the rate of interest and the investment. And this relationship is explained through investment demand curve, which is a downward sloping curve. Mathematically, it is equal to I equals to I bar minus BI, where I stand for investment, I bar stand for autonomous investment, B measures the interest responsiveness of investment. That means the change in investment as a result of change in interest rate, which is indicated by small I. Here B is positive, and negative sign before B indicates negative relation between the rate of interest and the investment demand curve, which is shown in figure number 12.1. On vertical axis we have interest rate. On the horizontal axis we have investment schedule. Now let us study the process of determination and derivation of IS curve. For this purpose, we start with equation in the 3-sector economy, which is AD is equal to C plus I plus G. Consumption plus investment plus government expenditure. As far as C is concerned, it comprises of autonomous as well as induced component. and it is given by T bar, which is autonomous consumption, which is assumed to be 0 in this particular case. So it is missing in this equation as per reading list. Then we have small c into TR bar. Small c is marginal propensity to consume. TR bar indicates exogenous transfer from the government. Then we are having plus c within bracket 1 minus t into y, where t stand for tax rate, c stand for marginal propensity to consume. Then we have plus I minus bi. We all know that in this chapter, we are not assuming that I is completely exogenous. Rather, it has two components. One is I bar, which is fixed component. The other is minus bi. Then we have last part of the aggregate demand. It is government expenditure. Now the common portion, which is exogenous, is symbolically expressed by A bar, and the remaining portion will be plus C within bracket 1 minus T Y minus BI. Here A bar or autonomous expenditure is CTR bar plus I bar plus G bar. Now we have derivation of IS curve, which is being shown in figure number 12.2. IS curve has been derived in the lower panel of the diagram. In the upper panel, we have 45-degree line indicating aggregate output. Aggregate expenditure or demand is shown by linear line, linear curve, starting from positive y-axis, where y-intercept is A bar minus BI1. I1 is the rate of interest before change. Now aggregate demand is given by A bar plus C within bracket 1 minus Ty minus BI1. Now suppose the rate of interest declines from I1 to I2. Because of reduction in the rate of interest, there will be more spending. So aggregate demand curve or aggregate expenditure curve will shift upward, and the new intercept on the y-axis will be A bar minus BI2, and the new aggregate demand or aggregate expenditure curve will be A bar plus C within bracket 1 minus Ty minus BI2, corresponding to the two equilibrium point which lie on the 45-degree line. We can derive IS curve from these 2 points corresponding to OYN, corresponding to OI1 rate of interest. Income level is given by OY1. This is corresponding to original equilibrium point E1, and corresponding to lower rate of interest of OI2. Equilibrium output level is given by OY2. This is corresponding to the new equilibrium point E2. When we join these 2 points E1 and E2, the curve so obtained is called as IS curve. This is how IS curve is derived. The whole of this chapter, including derivation of IS curve, is very, very important. IS curve implies the curve obtained by joining various equilibrium points corresponding to different rate of interest and the corresponding income level, such that product or goods market is in equilibrium. We all know that in the diagram which is before you, all points which are on the 45-degree line, including but not limited to E1 and E2, we are having equilibrium in the product market or goods market. So corresponding to these 2 points, saving is equal to investment. And the 2 points which we have derived in the lower panel of this diagram, that is E1 and E2. Here also saving is equal to investment. And we have just considered 2 typical points where saving is equal to investment or aggregate demand is equal to aggregate output. So this curve obtained by joining E1 and E2 will be called as investment saving curve or IS curve. At every point on this curve, we are having equilibrium in the product market. So IS curve is also called as the goods market equilibrium schedule. Such curve represent combinations of interest rates and income at which goods market clears or goods market is in equilibrium. Corresponding to IS curve, government spending and exports and all other injections together, which can be symbolically expressed by I plus G plus X, will be equal to total withdrawals, which is a sum of savings, taxes and imports, that is S plus T plus M. So at all points on the IS curve, saving is equal to investment for a 2-sector economy. Saving plus taxes will be equal to investment plus government expenditure in the 3-sector economy. And for 4-sector economy, total injections in the form of I plus G plus X will be equal to total withdrawals in the form of S plus T plus M. Now we proceed further to find out equilibrium level of income in mathematical terms. For this purpose, please refer to equation number 12.5. Y is equal to aggregate demand, which is equal to A bar plus C within bracket 1 minus T into Y minus BI. We can find out the equilibrium level of income by shifting all terms, incorporating Y to the left hand side. So finally we get Y is equal to A bar minus BI divided by 1 minus C within bracket 1 minus T. This is how through IS curve we can find out the equilibrium level of national income. Now from the value of Y, about which we can simplify the equation about which I have just explained to you, we can say Y is also equal to alpha G within bracket A bar minus BI. A bar minus BI is in the numerator, and we do have 1 upon 1 minus C within bracket 1 minus T, which is nothing but alpha G or multiplier that was discussed in the previous chapter. So this is government expenditure multiplier. So Y is equal to alpha G within bracket A bar minus BI. Well, student, IS curve is derived by joining different points of equilibrium between aggregate demand and GDP corresponding to different levels of investment, which are determined by corresponding different levels of interest rate. We all know that IS curve shows the relationship between the interest rate and GDP. Interest rate affects the investment, and when we change the investment, our equilibrium level of GDP gets changed. So the final relationship between the interest rate and GDP such that product market is in equilibrium through equality of aggregate demand and aggregate output will make us understand how IS curve is defined. Now let us discuss about the slope of IS curve. Slope of IS curve depends on two things. The first is sensitiveness of investment spending to the change in the interest rate. That means in equation number 12.6, slope of IS curve depends on small b. The second factor on which IS curve slope depends is the value of multiplier, which is symbolically expressed by alpha g in equation 12.6. Now let us understand in which case slope is going to be lesser and in which case the slope will be higher. When investment spending is very sensitive to the rate of interest, that means the value of B is very high. A given change in this rate produces a large change in aggregate expenditure. And when there is a large change in aggregate expenditure, then this aggregate expenditure curve will pass through or cause a corresponding large change in the equilibrium level of GDP. And when this happens, IS curve will be flat. Whereas if investment spending is less sensitive to the change in rate of interest, that is lesser value of B, then given change in rate will produce a small change in aggregate expenditure. So there will be a small shift in the aggregate spending, causing a corresponding small change in the equilibrium level of GDP. So in this case, IS curve will be steep. Before discussing the second component of the IS curve, I am taking you to the figure number 12.3, which is before you. Here you will find that we have initial aggregate expenditure A bar minus BI1 plus C within bracket 1 minus TY. Then we have new aggregate expenditure which is parallel to this curve, which is A bar minus BI2 plus C within bracket 1 minus T into Y. So you find here 4 lines. You find 4 lines in this upper panel of the diagram. But right now I am explaining only two such aggregate expenditure line, one corresponding to rate of interest of I1, the other corresponding to rate of interest of I2 with the same value of small c or marginal propensity to consume. So you will find that in case this value of B is high, and if this value of B is high, then you will find this second parallel line, second aggregate expenditure line with the same value of MPC, and same MPC means this second aggregate expenditure line is going to be parallel. So the 4 equation which you see in the diagram, I am referring to the first and third one from below. and these two lines are parallel to each other. My humble submission is, if the rate of interest remains the same, if the marginal propensity to consume remains the same, but if the value of B is high, that will indicate for a small change in the rate of interest, there will be a big change in the investment spending. And when this happens, then there will be high value of y-intercept. And with this high value of y-intercept, the new equilibrium level will be achieved at a higher level. So output level will be more. And in such case, the IS curve is going to be flatter one. And flatter one would imply there will be less slope of the IS curve. I am taking back you to the same page, previous page, wherein I explained to you that for large shift in aggregate expenditure causing large change in equilibrium level of GDP, when the investment spending is very sensitive to the rate of interest, IS curve will be flat. But if the value of B is small, then for a given change in the rate of interest, there will be a small change in expenditure and resultant small shift in the aggregate expanding curve, causing a correspondingly small change in the equilibrium level of GDP. So IS curve is going to be steep because here B is having less value, it is relatively less sensitive. So for a given change in this rate, there is a small change in the aggregate expenditure. Now there is another factor on which the slope of IS curve depends. It is the multiplier. A higher level of interest rate reduces investment spending. We all know. The steepness of the curve depends on how sensitive investment spending is to the change in the interest rate, and also on the value of multiplier, and that is the second factor which is affecting the slope of IS curve. So here we find a large shift in the aggregate demand schedule produces a correspondingly large change in the equilibrium. This is the case if investment is very sensitive to the interest rate. So when B is large, IS curve will be flat, its slope will be less. But when B is small, IS curve will be steep, its slope will be very high. The second factor on which slope of IS curve is affected is value of multiplier. Well, student, you will find that the gap between the two aggregate demand curve is given by B delta I, that is shown in the upper panel of the diagram, and minus sign indicates inverse relationship between the rate of interest and spending. We all know that multiplier depends upon the value of marginal propensity to consume. And when there is a parallel shift in the aggregate spending curve, that indicates no change in the value of MPC. But again, I am taking you back to this diagram number 12.3, upper panel. Here you will find the marginal propensity to consume changes from C to C dash. And this C dash value is greater in comparison to C, because we know that whenever any curve becomes steeper, that means slope is greater. And the slope of aggregate spending curve is decided by the marginal propensity to consume. So in this figure which is before you, if you compare equation number 1 and 2 from below and the corresponding aggregate expenditure curves, you will find when you are moving from the first to the second equation and the MPC gets changed from C to C dash, aggregate spending curve become flatter on account of increase in the value of marginal propensity to consume. And we all know that marginal propensity to consume is positively related with the multiplier. So that means when MPC rises, there will also be increase in the value of multiplier. So when you compare first and third equation from below on one hand and second and fourth equation from below on the other hand, you will find the aggregate expenditure lines are becoming steeper on account of increase in the value of marginal propensity to consume and hence increase in the value of multiplier. And if you derive IS curve in the two situations, you will find that the later IS curve will be flatter in comparison to the previous IS curve. And this is you see in the lower panel of this diagram, that is IS dash curve is flatter in comparison to IS curve. And flatter IS curve means the slope of IS has declined. And why the slope has declined? Because the multiplier value has increased on account of increase in the value of marginal propensity to consume. So when the multiplier value rises, then IS curve becomes flatter, its slope declines. You can understand this by using simple mathematics, by using simple calculus, and for this purpose you will have to formulate equation number 12.7 by rearranging the term from equation number 12.6. That means you have to find out the value of I from equation number 12.6, and the value of I which is given in equation number 12.7, it is A bar divided by B minus Y divided by alpha G into B. So this equation has been derived by rearranging the term from equation number 12.6, which you can easily simplify. And from this equation, you can understand that there is a positive relationship between A bar, Y, and the rate of interest. But there is a negative relationship between the rate of interest on one hand, B and alpha G on the other hand, because B and alpha G both are in the denominator. B means interest responsiveness of investment to the change in the rate of interest. Alpha G means the government expenditure multiplier, which is positively related with the marginal propensity to consume. So this equation 12.7 tells us that for a given change in Y, the associated change in I will be larger in size when B and alpha G are smaller. And when you take the slope or derivative of this equation, and derivative means delta I divided by delta Y, you will find that this will be equal to minus 1 upon alpha G into B. So that means the slope is minus 1 upon alpha G into B. So that means interest rate on one hand, B and alpha G on the other hand are inversely related. So if you take smaller values of B and alpha G, then the slope of IS given by this equation is going to be greater. So please remember that equation number 12.7 is called as IS equation that shows the relationship between the rate of interest and the level of income, and its derivative will give you the slope. So corresponding to higher marginal propensity to spend and hence steeper aggregate demand schedule, we find flatter IS curve, because high value of marginal propensity to spend would imply high value of multiplier, and high value of multiplier would mean more value of alpha G, and so there will be lesser value of slope of IS curve, or IS curve will become flatter. So here aggregate demand curve schedule becomes steeper with high value of MPC and alpha G or B, but IS curve will become flatter, means lesser slope. We have next subtopic, position of IS curve. Position of IS curve means where from IS curve starts, or what causes IS curve to shift to the right, or what causes IS curve to shift to the left. We all know that whenever you draw any curve, if you change anything which is shown on one of the two axes, you will be moving along the same curve. But if you change any other thing, you will be able to shift the whole curve. Like in the case of demand curve, where we are moving on the same curve by changing the price, but we are moving to the right or to the left when we change other factors. So in this case, we are changing other factors. We are actually changing the autonomous expenditure, and when this autonomous expenditure gets changed, IS curve will shift to the right. And why and how this will happen, you can see in the upper panel, where we are having two aggregate demand curve. One is AD, which is given by A bar minus BI plus C within bracket 1 minus T into Y. Then we have new aggregate demand curve AD dash, which is given by A bar dash minus BI plus C within bracket 1 minus T into Y. Y-intercept showing the autonomous expenditure are A bar and A bar dash respectively. The gap between these two aggregate demand curve will show delta A bar, and the horizontal difference between the two equilibrium level will be giving us delta Y, that is the change in output or income in the equilibrium. And this change in income in equilibrium will be given by alpha G into delta A bar. Because student, this is something you have started in the previous chapter, that is change in income is equal to multiplier multiplied by change in autonomous expenditure, or multiplier alpha G is equal to delta Y divided by delta A bar. So we find the gap between the two IS curve is given by delta Y, the change in income, which is equal to alpha G multiplied by delta A bar. The level of autonomous expenditure, you all know that it is A bar, which is CTR bar plus I bar plus G bar, which has already been discussed in equation number 12.4 explained earlier. So in box, you will find horizontal shift of IS curve is equal to multiplier times the increase in autonomous spending. Now we have next subtopic, position of, it is OFF of IS curve. That means what happens when we are not on the IS curve. So we have now figure number 12.5, that is showing the situation of excess supply and excess demand. We all know that at every point on the IS curve, demand for goods is equal to supply of goods. And when we say demand and supply of goods are equal, so there means there is no disequilibrium in the product market. This implies that there is perfect equilibrium in the product market. Demand for goods is equal to supply of goods. But if you consider any point which is away from IS curve, which may be below IS curve, which may be above IS curve, there will be disequilibrium in the product market. So demand for goods will not be equal to supply of goods. Either there will be excess demand for goods or there will be excess supply of goods. So in case you consider points which are above and to the right of IS schedule, you will find excess supply of goods. Like we have point number E4. In point number E4, we find that for the same rate of interest, the level of income is high. For the same level of rate of interest, the level of income is high. And when the level of income is high, so that means the forces will start which will cause the system moving back to the equilibrium point. So here you will find that is clear from this matter in the box. At a point like E1, we have equality of demand for goods and supply of goods. But if you compare E1 points and E2 points, then you will find interest rate are higher than at E2. If you take E4 point, you will find interest rate are higher. And when interest rate are higher, there will be low investment spending at point E4. And similarly, if you consider point number E3, you will find in comparison to point E1, the interest rate is lesser for the same level of income, that is OY1. We are having lesser rate of interest, and at lesser rate of interest, there will be more planned spending. And so if there is more planned spending, so there will be excess demand for goods. So at point E3, there is excess demand for goods. In the case of E4, there is excess supply of goods. So only along IS curve, there is neither efficiency or excess of demand or supply of goods. Now student, we come to another important curve, LM curve. Please remember that in case you have understood well about IS curve, you will not find any difficulty in understanding LM curve. The process is more or less similar. In the case of LM curve, L stand for liquidity, M stand for money. And LM curve is the curve where at every point money market is in equilibrium. We know that in the case of IS curve, we are having equilibrium in the product market. At every point, saving is equal to investment or demand is equal to supply for goods. But in the case of LM curve, we have equality of demand for money and supply of money. We all know that there are many types of assets. Apart from money, we have interest-bearing assets like bonds, on which we get assured interest rate. We have equities where we get dividend. We do have tangible or real assets like washing machine and other such durable assets. So these are the various types of financial assets. But in this particular case, we are basically discussing about bonds or other such assets which are interest bearing. There is one, you can say, special type of bond also that is giving us interest for all times to come. We are not being repaid the principal amount of the bond, that is perpetuity. for indefinite period we are receiving interest on that bond. So here in this particular topic, we are basically dealing with bonds rather than other financial assets like equities. So in order to understand the derivation of LM curve, we have to go back to demand for money chapter. We all know that demand for real balances depends on two factors. This was discussed in the chapter demand for money and supply of money. The two factors on which demand for real balances depends is the level of income, or to be more precise, level of real income. And the other factor is the interest rate. And this real income actually determines the transaction demand for money, including precautionary demand for money. Precautionary demand is for unforeseen future transaction requirements. And the rate of interest determines the speculative demand for money. So the demand for real balances L is equal to KY. Small k indicates the sensitivity of demand for real balances to the income level. That means the change in transaction demand for money with the change in the level of income. And similarly, small h indicates the sensitivity of demand for real balances due to change in the interest rate. Well, student, you may remember that transaction demand for money and the level of income are positively related to each other. That is why we are having positive sign before KY. But interest rate and speculative demand for money are inversely related. That is why we are having negative sign before H. Here both K and H are positive. Now we have figure number 12.6, wherein we show that demand for money curve, which is a downward sloping curve, and it is given by KY minus HI. It shifts to the right when there is increase in the level of income. And this is something which was already discussed in the relevant chapter, demand for money and supply of money. So the amount by which there is going to be horizontal shift in the demand for money curve will be small k into delta y, where delta y is the change in income and k is the rate of change in income with change, rate of change in the demand for money with the change in income. So K delta Y indicates the horizontal shift demand for money, where delta Y is the change in income and K is the responsiveness of change in income with change in the level of income. Now another diagram before you, which is showing the derivation of LM curve. And I'm going to wind up in 30 more minutes because I want to complete this discussion in 2 sessions, today and Friday. So student, be prepared to spare 30 more minutes. I have already shared on the group that this class will continue till 3:30. So here we explain the process of derivation of LM curve in figure number 12.7. Here we find that original equilibrium in the money market takes place at point E1. And the new equilibrium point takes place at point E2. LM curve has been derived in the left portion of the diagram, and the process of derivation starts from the right portion. In the right portion, you will find that L1 is KY1 minus BI. The money supply or the real money balances is given by M bar divided by P bar. It is exogenous given by the central bank. the two curves, demand for money and supply of money, intersect at point E1. And this is corresponding to level of income Y1. So at Y1 level of income, the rate of interest is OI1. So what combination between the rate of interest and the income level where money market is in equilibrium, and money market in equilibrium means demand for money is equal to supply of money. Demand for money is given by L1. Supply of money is given by the vertical line, which is exogenous in this case. Now the supply of money remains the same, but the demand for money rises with rise in the income level from OY1 to OY2. So the new demand for money curve is L2, and the new equilibrium point where demand for money is equal to supply of money is E2. This corresponds to income level of OY2. So we have two combinations of interest rate and income level. When we join these two combinations corresponding to two equilibrium point E1 and E2, we get the LM curve. So LM curve is obtained by combining or joining those points where money market is in equilibrium, that is demand for money is equal to supply of money, and it shows the various combinations of the rate of interest and the income level. Students, you must remember that both IS and LM curve shows various combinations of rate of interest and the income level. But in case of IS curve, product market is in equilibrium. In the case of LM curve, it is the money market which is in equilibrium. Now LM equation is before you, 12.9. And this 12.9 equation has come from 12.8, where we wrote L is equal to Ky minus Hi. So we can say real money balances, which is given by M bar divided by P bar, it is equal to Ky minus Hi. When you solve it for interest rate, you get I is equal to 1 upon H Ky minus M bar upon P bar. This is equation number 12.10, and this equation is showing the LM curve. So LM curve is showing various combinations of income or GDP and the interest rate such that there is equilibrium in the money market, or money demand is equal to money supply. And from this equation number 12.10, you can know about the slope of the LM curve. Slope is equal to di by dy or del I by del y, and this slope is equal to k upon h. That means the slope of LM curve is directly related with k and it is inversely related with h. And this is precisely what we discuss in the next subsection on slope of LM curve. So slope of LM curve firstly depends upon responsiveness of demand for money to the change in rate of interest. So if the demand for money is very, very sensitive to the change in the rate of interest, the slope of LM curve will be very less. And in extreme case, it will be 0, in which case LM curve will be horizontal. That means when demand for money is very, very responsive to rate of interest, that means the value of B is very high. Slope is going to be very less. And similarly, when there is a greater responsiveness of demand for money to income, which is measured by K, there will be more slope of LM curve, because there is a positive relationship between K and the slope. So that means LM curve will become steeper in this extreme case. So we can say in brief that the slope of LM curve is inversely related with H and positively related with K. Lesser value of H will imply higher value of slope. So that means if H is 0, slope will be maximum, that is it will be infinity. So LM curve will be vertical. And if K is 0, that means demand for money is not sensitive to at all with change in income. So slope will be 0 and LM curve will be horizontal. Now we have position of LM curve. And position means what factor cause a shift in the LM curve. So here when real money balance is increased by central bank of the country, LM curve will shift to the right. Because when rate of interest or income change, we are moving along the same LM curve, but when other factor change like money supply changes. So in figure number 12.8, real money balance is increased from M bar divided by P bar to M bar dash divided by P. That means central bank increases the real money balances. So equilibrium shift from E1 to E2 for the same level of income. That means we are not changing the level of income, but the rate of interest goes down from OY1 to OY2. So you can either say for shift in the LM curve, either for the same rate of interest, the income level will rise, or for the same income level, the rate of interest will go down whenever the real money balances increase because of steps taken by the central bank. Now we have position of the LM curve. That means all those points which are not on the LM curve. If we are to the left of LM curve, we have excess supply of money. If we are to the right hand side of LM curve, we have excess demand for money. Because here you can compare points E2 and E4. And these can be compared in two ways, either by looking at A section of the diagram or B section of the diagram. In A section, we are showing the LM curve. In B section, we are showing the demand for money and supply of money curve, but the equilibrium point will remain the same. It will be more easier to understand and useful also by looking at A section of the diagram. So if you compare point E1 and E3, you will find for the same income level, the rate of interest is high. And if the rate of interest is high, you will find there will be less demand for money because of high rate of interest. And we also know that speculative demand for money declines. And similarly, and if speculative demand for money declines, given the transaction demand for money, so there will be excess demand for money. And similarly, if you compare E2 and E4, you will find for the same level of income, there is lesser rate of interest. And at lesser rate of interest, there will be more demand for money. There will be more expenditure on investment. And we know that less demand for less rate of interest means more speculative demand. So given the transaction demand for money, when the speculative demand for money increases because of low rate of interest, the forces will start to reduce the demand for money or to raise the rate of interest such that we again come back to the equilibrium point. Next subheading is very simple. We have simultaneous equilibrium in the goods and money market, which is same at product and asset market. when IS and LM curve intersect each other, and this happens in figure number 12.10 at point E, where IS curve, which is downward sloping, and LM curve, which is upward sloping, are intersecting each other. So at this point E, equilibrium rate of interest is, say, OI, and the equilibrium income level is OY. And for this combination only, both money market and product market are in equilibrium. An economist would say, as given in this box, goods and asset market clear. Clear means equilibrium. Interest rate and income levels are such that public holds the existing stock of money and planned spending equals output. So that means whatever is the supply of money, that is held by the public. So demand for money is equal to supply of money. And similarly, planned spending is also equal to planned output. There will be change in the equilibrium level of income and interest rate whenever either IS curve or LM curve shift to the right or to the left. Figure number 12.11, we find there is an increase in autonomous spending, which is causing a rightward shift in the IS curve, which raises both rate of interest in equilibrium as well as the output level in equilibrium from OI to OI dash and from OY to OY dash respectively. In equilibrium, the change in income is delta Y, but the horizontal shift in the IS curve is equal to alpha G multiplied by delta I bar. Student, please do remember, and this is something which we have already covered when we discussed the position of the IS curve, of shift of the IS curve. That is, the shift in IS curve is equal to alpha G multiplied by delta I bar or delta A bar. Where delta I bar is investment spending, and if it is delta A bar, it is autonomous spending. So if the cause is change in investment, we will write alpha G into delta I bar. If it is any type of spending, we can also write alpha G multiplied by delta A bar. In equilibrium, the change in income level is less, but horizontal shift in IS curve is more. The reason is, when the IS curve shift, then to maintain the equilibrium in money market also, we have to move up from equilibrium point E to E dash. So that means when you are moving from equilibrium point E horizontally, the shift is equal to alpha G into delta I bar or alpha G into delta A bar. That is government expenditure multiplier into change in investment or autonomous spending. But when IS curve shift, then we are able to maintain equilibrium in the product market. The equilibrium in the money market get disturbed, which is restored only when we reach from point E to E dash rather than horizontally from E to any point on IS curve or new IS curve. So because of increase in the rate of interest, some of the increase in output is reduced. That is also called as crowding out effect. You can see box before you. Increase in autonomous spending shift the IS schedule to the right. Income increases and equilibrium income also rises. The increase in income is less than the one which is given by simple multiplier alpha G. This is because interest rate rise, which dampen the investment spending, which reduce or crowd out the effect of rise in the expenditure. Well, students, next subsection has been deleted from readings. So I am not going to discuss the same. but I am going to tell in one sentence that whenever we are not at general equilibrium point E, where both money and product market are in equilibrium, then we are either in one of the four situations, like first, second, third, fourth quadrant, where we have excess supply of good, excess supply of money. And you can understand these by going through what happens when we are to the left of IS, what happens when we are to the left of LM. For example, when we are to the left of IS curve, there is excess demand for goods. When we are to the left of LM curve, we have excess supply of money. So quadrant 2 indicates excess demand for goods as well as excess supply of money. So likewise, you can understand the remaining portion also. As far as next subsection, which is again shows the automatic mechanism through which we are moving to E point rapidly. I'm taking last 1 minute to explain to you what happens when LM curve shift to the right. This is given in the last figure which I'm explaining today, 12.14. When LM curve is shifting to the right, the rate of interest goes down, but the level of income rise. And why this happens? Because this happens due to increase in the price level. Due to increase in the price level, real money balances decline. And due to reduction in the price level, real money balances increase. Do you know what is real balance? M upon P. M upon P is the real money balance. So when P declines from P0 to P1, real money balances will rise, and so LM curve will shift to the right. So corresponding to OP naught, income level is OY naught, and corresponding to reduced price OP1, which is leading to increase in money supply, shown by rightward shift in the LM curve. We are at new equilibrium point E1. So if you join E0, E1, you will get aggregate demand curve in the lower panel of the diagram number 12.14. And this is derived through changes in price which lead to change in the LM curve.